Happy New Year. Welcome back to Eclectic Palette Studios. I'm Carrie. Today we're going to do a resin project. I found this, I guess it's a wine picnic table basically. So I know a lot of the little wine festivals you can go and sit and listen to music. This was a fun little table that you could put your wine bottle in and glasses without them dumping. And I thought it would be fun to do a resin project on this. So today I've already mixed up my resin and I'm using Let's Resin, and it's a 1-to-1 ratio. Now that it's winter, I heat both of the bottles up. It tends to help with some of the bubbles so you don't get too much of it. And then some of the other tools is I always make sure I have some alcohol rags around, 91% isopropyl alcohol. That helps me wipe up any resin. I also have a heat gun that I'll be using with a little concentrator. Obviously gloves. And then the colors today, primarily we're going to be doing titanium white, but I have some accents. I'm going to play around with this. I'm not sure which one I'm going to use, the Snow White or the Pearl Shimmer Color Obsession. May use a little bit of both. We'll see when I go to mix that up. And then my tints, I'm using TLP pigments, and I got a Golden Peach and Enchantment that I'm going to mix into a smaller little cup. So let's go ahead and get started. I've already put some of the pigment into my cups. I'm not going to need a whole heck of a lot of this. So I'm going to go ahead and pour that in to my little cups to mix. I'll show you how I mix those up. And then I'm going to make one for my Snow White or shimmer color, and the rest of this will go ahead and put the white resin in. So the TLPs, or this little piggy pigments, are very pigmented. You don't need a lot, and I really wanted this to be a lighter, on the lighter side, so I did not add a lot. And I'm fine with it being a little bit translucent, but as you can see, this mixes up really well. You want to make sure that when you're mixing your resin, that you're scraping your sides. Make sure you get everything in there and that it's thoroughly mixed. And we're not going to worry too much about the you know, I was going to use an accent gold. Well, we may add some gold later. The bubbles right now, because the heat gun will help to minimize that. So that's the enchantment. And then we have some peach that I had already added. And make sure that when you are mixing your resin, you're following the guidelines. Some of them come in different volumes. Some are 2-to-1 ratio. Almost all of the ones I use are 1-to-1, just makes it a lot easier unless I'm doing a very deep cast type pour. And then those usually come 2-to-1. And make sure that you are reading whether it's by volume or weight. Most of them are volume, and Let's Resin is a volume one. So let's go ahead and add some of our Snow White. Ooh, is this a new one? Sorry about that. Thought maybe we won't if I can't get it open. This looks like it's a new one. There we go. I'm going to add just a little bit of this one And I think I'm going to add more of the shimmer because the titanium white is going to be the main focus. Well, let me see how that mixes up because I can't get my other one open. And I can't get the shimmer open, so what I may do is add some abalone instead. And this is Bling It abalone shell. This gives a little bit more of a bling to it. And you want to be very cognizant of what you put in your colors. You can't mix the resin. Don't want any stick with the resin on it touching your colors, because then they'll just seize up. And this will give it a little bit more of a shine. And then we'll go ahead and mix up our titanium white. I'm going to go ahead and remove this one. This is my mixing stick. And I have this tray on a silicone mat. That way, you know, there's a lot of open areas on this one. I did tape underneath and the legs so that when resin drips through that it's not, I can later just peel that right off. Also taped most of the sides. I'm not going to worry about in between the little openings here. I will run my finger through that just to make sure there's no clumping happening. And the other thing I did before we went ahead and started this tape is that I made sure my table was level. You want to make sure this is level because resin will settle, and if you're tilted in any way, it's going to tilt off that direction. You can lose a perfectly good design that way. It's happened to me before, so just make sure that if it's not level, if it's your table, I just use some of my silicone spoons to go ahead, and one side was a little bit off, so I just placed them underneath the legs here, and then it was perfectly fine. Making sure that's good and stirred up. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lay down my white. I also made sure that I put some more gloves over here, so if I need to, I can replace my gloves at any time. But I'm basically going to pour this out, and we'll spread it around with our hands. To make sure we have an even coat before we go back and do some of our accent colors. Again, I'm not worried of it dripping over the sides. Put that off to the side. And then I'm going to take this accent color in here as well. Oh, and I also, if you notice the top of this was white, I did go ahead and I treated it with Kiln's house paint primer. I don't know that it's fully necessary to do so. I just think it's always a good idea. Wood can, this seemed very porous, and so just to make sure that it wasn't going to completely soak up, I went ahead and did a couple coats of that. And right now what I'm doing is just making sure everything is covered pretty evenly. Like I said, I probably put more than enough resin on here, so we are going to get some drips off, and that is perfectly fine. And I'll just kind of make sure that I've got it all even. And I'll just run my fingers around the edges of these holes, just to make sure we got some coverage in there too, because I did not treat that with a primer, which you certainly could do. I just did not. And I want to make sure that all these little edges are also covered, because I did not tape it fully, so I want to make sure that we do have coverage. Okay, I think we got a good coat. All right, this is why this comes in handy, because then I can just go in here and wipe this all off. So you see how I think you can see it. I don't know if it's picking it up or not, but that snow white color is just different. I'm going to blast it a little bit with my heat gun, just make sure we don't have any big bubbles. And we'll use this again later. Okay, so now we're going to go in with our colors, and I am just going to take these, put some of my stick, and we're just going to run those over each other. Doesn't have to be perfect. What we're kind of actually trying to do is mimic like what a marble would look like, so to speak. I'm going to come in with my peach. I'll run a color just right next to it. Also, if you're interested, all my colors I actually get from Erica Thornton from Artist Till Death. And she is a fabulous resin artist. If you want to check her out, you can check out her website. She does sell all these colors there, but also check out her art channel. She does live streams pretty much weekly. And her husband as well, Jeff, is a fabulous airbrush artist, and he also does some videos. Check them out. And I really think that I want to do some gold, and I already took everything. I wonder if I added some of the gold to the peach. Let's try it. See what happens. So I have a Color Passion gold sparkle color. I'm going to add it to the peach because I already have enough peach color on here for my taste. Really be careful when you use mica colors. They are very small particles and will fly up, so just make sure that either you're wearing a respirator or you really go slow when you first start mixing it. I think that's going to be a pretty color. So I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to do too much. One thing I always do too when I start off these projects is I make sure that I have other molds on standby, just so if I don't use all the colors that they're not going to waste, and I can pour all the extras into either cup mold or coasters or other projects. So now I'm just going to take my heat gun and move this a little bit. And see what I like. Maybe add a little bit more of the gold down here. All right. I think that's it. So what I will do, as this sets up a little bit, is I'll make sure that these holes aren't collecting, because some of the tape is overrunning and making it sit right in there, which could affect it later. But when this starts to dry up, I'll remove also the tape, and then I can also take a resin knife, and if there's any obstructions, go ahead and take those off. But the good thing about making sure I tape the bottom of this is that anything runs over, then I can go ahead and just peel it off and it will be just fine. So there you have it. It's a short little tutorial. I'm going to go back in here and get some of these spots that do not set up. And that will be it. Once this is dry, I will go ahead and add another clear layer just to make sure it's good and sealed, and then you'll have a finished product. Short little video, but I hope you enjoyed it. Come back and see me. We'll do some painting or resin projects. Otherwise, I hope everyone has a great new year. Thanks for joining. Make sure you subscribe and like if you haven't already. And thanks for coming to my channel. Have a good one.